Hunter Biden, I believe, technically is an attorney, graduated from law school, but unfortunately for him, it was all downhill from there. Look, the whole country knows about his issues, but the mainstream media refused to tell you about them, minimized it. They went along with the whole, oh, it's Russia collusion, it's Russia disinformation, it's Rudy Giuliani being crazy. But no, even he has finally had to acknowledge, did it on his own terms. So weird that he's under investigation by the federal government, along with his uncle, Joe's brother, Jim. Here are the headlines. Finally, Hunter Biden says he's under federal investigation for a tax matter. Justice Department's interest in Hunter Biden covered more than taxes. They're looking at all kinds of things. But again, during the campaign, these stories were delegitimized. They were censored on big platforms like Twitter. Remember, the New York Post had stories about Hunter, and they were kept off of Twitter. Amazing. Totally, totally amazing. And gosh, the poor president, he was raising these issues during the debate, and such a concerted effort whenever he went there. And now we know there's a there. Even the far left media can't deny it anymore. He was shut down in big ways and in small.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial subjects. Well, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a judgment call here.
Gets $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow.
Let's talk about
not true.
That report is totally discredited. Mitt Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers' money, that report. It was written for political reasons.
I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay.
And they talked about climate change, and they shut down the questions about Hunter Biden in debate one to talk about climate change. That's an issue I believe Democrats think works for them. All right, next debate, the same thing. When the president went there, he was shut down, and then watch.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
And that's exactly what. This is
where he's going. The laptop is Russia.
Gentlemen, I want to stay on the issue of race.
You have to be kidding. Here we go again with Russia.
I want to talk about the issue of race. And then she asked a question about Black Lives Matter. Lieutenant Pavlinsky was right. This family is compromised. Remember him? Came forward, told his story, New York Post. Tucker Carlson, good for him, told his story, and everybody said, no story. Man, the guy offered a total blueprint for the Biden crime family, as Rudy Giuliani calls it. These guys are bad, and we're all going to find out about it now. And let's talk a little bit about Joe's penchant for lying. We call this natural-born liar, and he is. It's right there. He's been doing it his entire career. Now, I've shown you those clips when he got caught back in the 80s. He said he graduated at the top of his law school class, and then 2 days later, he had to say out loud he was at the bottom of his class. Those things are amazing, and you can find them on YouTube. But these are a little bit more obscure, but I think pretty interesting as well. Just actually found this one recently. All right. Watch this moment again from the debate. I think it was the Chris Wallace debate, but listen to Joe talk about his hard life in Scranton.
This guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton.
Irish Catholics like me who grew up in Scranton. He talks about Scranton like it's, again, the South Bronx or Compton. Scranton's fine. I've been to Scranton many times. There's nothing wrong with Scranton. But anyway, he wants us to feel that he grew up on the wrong side of the tracks. Well, I looked it up. I'm from a place called Garden City on Long Island. It's actually one of the most beautiful towns in the entire world. That's where I grew up. I went to high school there. And so did Joe Biden. It's actually in his own memoir. Garden City, very, very beautiful town. It was actually a planned community. There are subdivisions now, but this was planned like in the 1800s, and it's just a magnificent town. I want to show you his book here. This is his memoir that came out when he ran for president in 2008. My dad and a friend bought an airfield on Long Island and started a crop dusting business. Hold that thought for a second. His father bought an airport, essentially. Okay, that's I'm always hearing about how down on his luck the old man was. I hear that from Joe all the time. He did buy an airport, and then goes on crop dusting business, and we had barely settled into Garden City. Again, I know that town pretty well, and it's a pretty nice place. Now, he went on to say in the book that the business went bankrupt, so that's why they had to go back to Scranton. But I've seen the house in Scranton. It was totally fine. All right, so that's one, in my opinion, fib. Here's another one. Do you think this conversation really happened when Joe Biden was a teenager, which would have been in the late 1950s, and he saw two men kissing with his father in Wilmington?
And these two men, well-dressed, leaned up and hugged one another and kissed one another. I'm getting out of the car at the light, and I turned to my dad. My dad looked at me and said, Joey, it's simple. They love each other.
On this one, I don't have proof, but I just don't believe him. And I think it's okay to not believe Joe Biden. I think he's established himself as a liar, a fib teller, tall stories, all that. All right, one more. Again, just a theory, but there was a movie that came out with Matt Damon about 9 years ago, The Adjustment Bureau. Actually, a pretty good movie. Won't tell you the whole situation, but it involves time travel, and it's kind of crazy, but it's entertaining. Anyway, watch this. Matt Damon finally has like an aha moment. He's running for office, and he loses, and suddenly he's fed up with the phoniness of it all, okay? Mid-speech, he's fed up with the phoniness of everything. Watch what happens.
But we had a rule in my neighborhood. When you got in a fight, it wasn't whether or not you got knocked down. It's what you do when you get back up.
It's bullshit. We didn't have that saying in my neighborhood. It's just one of those phrases that it had some traction with the focus group, and so we kept using it, but it's not true.
Just one of those phrases. I mean, has anyone ever really said that? I thought I saw it on Abbott and Costello. I think Joe Biden saw the same episode of Abbott and Costello because Joe Biden uses that line.
My dad used to have an expression. You don't measure success on whether or not you've been knocked down. It's how quickly you get back up, because everybody gets knocked down. The measure is getting back up.
I'm not buying it. All right, so this is one of the many, many, many reasons I do not want Joe Biden in there for 4 years, any years. I want Donald Trump to prevail, and I still think he will. I really do think it's going to happen.